Good evening, Super League fans and managers across the globe. It's the final evening of the Super League. It's live. It's a little bit weird to be live again, so pardon me for any kind of confusion, and pardon my co-commentator's Pink Floyd ringtone or whatever it is that he's got going on in the background.
I blame you for that. That's a Super League notification on YouTube that I'm just getting that we've gone live. So
Ah, okay. Well, in that case, I guess it's working. Yeah, as always, in the chat, I can see evening, Stephen, Ryan, Rob, Alf, Fifey, evening everyone, and welcome to the last night of the Super League. Ian and who else is on comms? Ian is on comms along with me, from a balanced BTEC perspective. That's his birthday present. Um, as I mentioned earlier, I have my life in the UK test for my citizenship tomorrow, so we can't unfortunately have a a very long-winded evening here, but we'll try and squeeze in as much detail as possible, even to Midlothian as well. See that everyone's turned up for this. So Ian, excited about the Super League? I mean, not the season you'd hope for, perhaps, but generally excited for the end of the Super League. I mean, we still have what 4 or 5 teams that are in it for the playoffs, so
yeah,
can't really.
absolutely. It's not. I mean, it would be nice to be involved still at this stage of the season in a more competitive way, but it's just really nice that we have this level of interest in in the last going down to the last game, because obviously in the past there's been occasions where by this point all positions have been decided and we were just going through the motions waiting for the knockout stages. But yeah, really looking forward to this. Really excited. Wouldn't like to. I mean, obviously you're going to ask me at some point how I think things are going to go, but as it stands, yeah, not too sure exactly what's going to happen here, but can't wait to see it unfold.
Yeah, there's been plenty of predictions during the week, obviously. I think a couple of weeks ago it already started with a poll or two about who's going to miss out and who's going to make it. Is obviously I mean, Panathinaikos and Midlothian have, the balls in their court. Kind of, they've got games they can win and decided for themselves. We'll obviously see Astra and Chudley up first. We do have the added benefit that regardless of the outcome of Astra and Chudley, one of them will move above at least Midlothian. So if either side wins, then obviously both of them move into. Sorry, the winning side will move on either 39 or 40 points above Panathinaikos or Midlothian, and even with a draw, Astor will move above Midlothian because they have a very slightly better goal difference until later on in the evening. So it will be very exciting. We're obviously going to start off with some of the, let's say, less. It's hard to say less exciting games, but the ones that have less of a bearing on the outcome. I mean, Sloths could effectively, could they over? I mean, they would need a big swing, but they could sneak above Chudley in the in the table, which would be something else.
It
But
would. I mean, what a fantastic run of form Rob's lads have been on. Really, I mean, if you discounted maybe the first half a dozen games of this season where they were frankly awful, they would be slap bang in the middle of the playoff contention. And I think he's found something there, tactics wise, and which he can carry forward to next season. I know that well enough from being on the receiving end last week of just how he's got them to click. So to say that you were looking to maybe scrape eighth after the way they started the season is all credit to them.
yeah, they went a long time without scoring. Actually, I think they was it not like 6 or 7 games. I mean, I can't remember how many games it was, but it was definitely
Oh yeah, I mean
a few games without scoring. And then when they did, it was Ballack on a penalty or something like that. So they've definitely turned it around.
yeah,
Definitely
to say
turned it
that to
around.
say that they were awful is putting it politely, isn't it? I mean, it's what makes the turnaround so much more stark.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I don't think anyone looks forward to playing them anymore.
Yeah. Well, we might as well just dive straight into it. We'll obviously speak a lot more about the teams as they and the impact of the results as we see them coming in. Obviously, for Churchtown, it's all academical, and for Swindon to some extent as well. Their places are not in any way in danger, so not too much to say about them. But obviously still the points to play for and the satisfaction of winning. If we have a look at the fixtures, we're obviously going to do it in a slightly different order. So we're going to start off with the Hornets against the Sloths. We'll have Devils against Hooligans, B-Tech against Dragons. Then we're going to do Phoenix against Churchtown. Then we'll have Ardsley against Chudley, Panathinaikos against Valen, and finally Midlothian against Ardsley. So it's yeah, it's gonna be an exciting evening. I think all the squads are in, and I think present and correct. At least I hope so. Anyway, it would be a bit of a bad night to to mess up
Yeah,
too badly. But let's see. Yeah, I'm fairly confident that the teams have been set up correctly. Of course, if you are watching from the sidelines, then you're more than welcome to chip in. I will leave a couple of seconds on the screen prior to actually clicking into the match just to double check. But we should be okay. So rather than discussing the teams on the actual match screen, we'll probably discuss it on the tactics section of their
yeah,
respective pages. So if anyone is watching, obviously online and spot something that's wrong, then you can give us a shout. But anyway, first up, as mentioned, we will go to Hoddesdon Hornets against the Sloths, and we'll have a look at the Hornets' tactics. If I remember rightly, there are no changes for Hoddesdon Hornets this week. They've had an okay run at it, not the best season at all from the Hornets, but it, is it the squad? Is there anything he could have done different, Craig? Do you think?
do you know, I think it's been a bit of a season of what ifs for Craig. I think what if the draft had been a little bit kinder to him? I think what if he hadn't had quite such bad luck with injuries? And what if maybe, Batistute and Sigalco had maybe got the shooting boots on a little bit earlier in the season? I think, we all know he's a top manager, is Craig, and I think the cards that were dealt to him weren't great. I think he's actually over the piece. I think he's played those cards really, really well. And if you think that maybe a little bit of something else in his favour, he might have been looking to, scrape sixth place perhaps. No, I think
Hmm.
I look on Hardison's performance is okay. I think I look on Craig's performance as a manager as really good.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean they've a very strong defensive aspect to their game. Obviously, they're one of the teams that conceded the fewest goal in the league, but they've just, as you mentioned there yourself, like that combination, Batistuta, Tsigalco, Luca Toni, whatever they tried, has not really been working for them. Especially in this, I mean, last season they were kind of in the playoffs towards the end of it, but then it kind of fell to pieces a little bit. But yeah, it's
Yeah, it is that creative spark that he misses, because I think he's pretty solid at DM. I think Petrov, I think Sean Davis, plenty good enough at this level. I think Batistuta and Tsigalco up front, plenty good enough, and Lucio at the back, Fraser, decent keeper. I think he misses that guy behind the strikers, perhaps, who
mm,
and advanced midfield roles who can maybe pull the strings and create something a little bit extra.
yeah, and I mean Ljungberg or McManaman or whoever else he had has obviously not been really been the key. But let's have a look at the Sloths lineup and see and see how they line up Sloths, because he's been quite sort of consistent with this formation that no one else really seemed to use, and had good success with it. I mean, last time out, 5 goals against I was going to say a much fancied BTEC Trooper side, but a BTEC Trooper side that at least had found a
Who
little
was
bit
it
of
who
form.
fancied us? Who was it who fancied? Some people never learn.
Yeah, so but he's gone unchanged obviously, and you couldn't really blame you can't really blame him for that, can you? For being an unchanged side. I mean, he's got Van Bronckhorst in there, Simeone, Patasoglu. That's a solid back three. Burns and NDI have done well. Taibi has been one of the best keepers in the league actually in terms of his average rating. You know,
Yeah.
Duff and Solari, D'Alessandro. There's not really any kind of like superstars as such, but
No, but he's got everybody doing a good job. I think it's took him a little while to figure out his best team. I think it's took him a little bit longer to figure out his best formation. Interesting that Balak doesn't really get a game, considering he was a huge contributor last season. Um, I think he seems to have stumbled on a strike partnership as well. Pava seems to be doing well, and to think that you've got Kesman and you've got Crespo. Kesman can't get in the team. Crespo can't get on the bench. They still score loads of goals. Interesting that you point out that he's gone unchanged. I mean, he put 5 past us last week. We went unchanged for last week from a really good performance against Midlothian. So, as is the nature of this league, going unchanged and coming off the back of a great result doesn't necessarily guarantee you another great performance, which just makes this a little bit more interesting for me.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting. And for those who follows the chairman's personal account on Twitter, obviously, you'll not be surprised to know that I have discovered that Landon Donovan is the best striker in the game. So
Yeah.
evidence of that to be presented shortly. Scott and I had a bit of a race today, but with him and Tigalco. Sadly, Tigalco for him went on a great run towards the end of the season and got to 57. And I mean, Donovan wasn't doing too badly, but then he picked up a 3 month groin tear, so I had to drop out early. But we'll see.
And you are pitting a striker against an FRC, aren't you?
Well, you watch this space. You watch this space. Anyway, your predictions for this one.
Do you know, I am going to go Hoddesdon win. Sorry, Rob. I just think that Craig's lads might end the season on a high.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll kick off the first half and see if Craig can pick up 3 points here. That would obviously take them up to 32, equal with the Dragons. And Sloths, as we say, they've got 8 plates in their sights. But let's have a look. Let's have a look and see what happens. Even El Guerra, who everyone, that's what cost Sloths all
Yeah,
of last season, isn't it?
yeah,
What is it again? They're up against 3 strikers, so going one at the back is probably a slightly optimistic. We'll take Mr. Pat Sockle down there to kind of
yeah.
cover it. Yeah, that was the downfall. Oh, Batistuta, obviously, that was kind of the downfall last season, and has to some extent been this season as well. The amount of red cards that they pick up, Sloths, and that's obviously not a great start to the evening for them. NDI sent off after just 6 minutes, and Batistuta, yeah, he hasn't scored
Over the course of a
in.
season, that's going to cost you, isn't it? You can, if it's 1 or 2 here and there. But having said that, he does, and there we go. He's got a goal. They do seem to perform with 10 men sometimes as well.
Yeah, there's nothing stopping their formation really. I mean, they now that they have these 4 at the back, there's a lot of teams that play like that with is it Panathinaikos that have 2 DCs and 2 DMCs as well? I mean, it's
Mm.
it's not a setup that's completely unheard of in the league, obviously. So, but a rough start for the Sloss with a man sent off so early, and obviously Batistuta quick to capitalize on that. 2 shots on target for Hornets, and both of them went in. Sloss have had 4 and only got 1 goal out of it, so that's a little bit of a. It's got to be a little bit disappointed with that, Rob. You would think.
Absolutely, yeah. I think you were big in Tybee up at the start of the game, and we know he's proven in the Super League from previous incarnations. But yeah, he's not covered in selling much glory tonight so far.
Doesn't look like it. Sebastian Frey getting an 8. Obviously, he's doing a slightly better job here at the Hornets end. He's someone who's maybe flown under the radar a little bit. Sebastian Frey. He obviously joined from Chudley Cannons at a point where the previous manager had seen enough. But he doesn't seem to have been terrible at Hornets, and maybe one of the reasons why they've only conceded 31. I think Panathinaikos, Phoenix, Valen, the only 3 teams that have conceded less goals than Hornets all season. So it is
Yeah,
really down to the lack of goal scoring. Tsigalco with 2 assists, maybe a little bit of a surprise there.
yeah. I mean, we didn't see an awful lot of Frey at Chudley, really, did we? And I think a lot of people were surprised when the deal was done, and it left Scott needing, when he took over, needing to go and get Andre. Because I think Westerveld, regardless of whether they have a 9 or a 5, played a lot of the time for Chudley. So I think yeah, I think Craig did well there, nipping in and getting free for about 10 mil, didn't he? So we all
Yeah,
know
good
how
deal
it
for
is.
him. Good deal for him, and it's worked out for him. I think he was probably maybe hoping that Joey Goodjohnson would have been back to play. I think he was a one that Craig brought in that had done a pretty good job. But yeah, I mean Hargreaves is in there, Southgate. They're decent enough players, but we'll see if they can build on it in the second half or hang on if Slots continue to create chances. It hasn't really been much for them. I mean he's had some luck with the wingers or some not luck maybe it's he's had some good results with the wingers. He's had Duff playing well, Solari's playing well. Solis is the other guy he's had on the wing as well. So it's worked okay for him the wide
Mm.
players and but if you get people sent off at the back, I mean that's literally all NDI did. He didn't have a pass or anything. He just got sent straight off. Then it's
Yeah,
tricky to get back into it, isn't it?
it is. And he's a big player to miss as well. He's a big presence on the pitch. You know what he's capable of. It's interesting you point out Somerset sloths with the wingers. I think it seems to be that you stick somebody on the wing, they play well. I think with Duffy also, if our memory serves me, I think he spent a few games out of position on the right wing and still put in some top performances. So I think there's something there in that setup where the wingers just do perform. So yeah, if they are going to get back into it in the second half, you can see Duff maybe continuing and contributing again.
Well, we'll see we'll see what comes up in the second half. As we always say, an early goal for the team that's behind can make all the difference. But let's kick it off and see what happens in. Oh, it is Damien. Oh my goodness, heartbreak for Damien Duff. He thought he'd scored, he had, but it was disallowed. Yeah, that would definitely have made the second half a lot more interesting.
It just shows the danger's still there, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely does. But it seems as if time's just kind of running away with them. It went pretty quickly past the rest of the
Yeah,
second half. And it's
yeah.
Batistuta with his
Hat
hat
trick,
trick.
brilliant. Where was that for the first half of the season?
And for most of the second half of the season, I mean, he's on 13 goals now. I think that's spread out over about 5 or 6 games, isn't it? He had
Mhm.
one with four, one with three. Did he have another three
I wouldn't be
or a
surprised. It
brace? A
seems to
brace
have
at
been absolutely
least.
purple, doesn't he?
I think 8 of those 13 goals have come in like 3 games or something. So he's definitely just out there to prove that he's not completely over the hill yet. So apart from that shot, which was obviously disallowed in the end for the offside, Sloss had nothing in the second half at all, and Hoddesdon just I mean dominated is a strong word, but they obviously had much better of the chances, and yeah, finishing on a high for Hornets. Craig will be kind of pleased and take that into the draft, I guess, and see if he can have a bit more luck next year than he perhaps had with this one. A little bit less of a McManaman and whoever else he ended up
Absolutely,
with.
yeah. And I think if he gets a favourable draft, Craig, then I think everyone needs to be a little bit wary because you'll be seeing a completely different side. Because he obviously knows how to manage the teams he gets given. It just depends on the quality of the team that
Hmm.
he ends up with.
Yeah, because he's been a regular in the playoffs in the past, I'm sure. Regular is maybe a strong word, but he definitely has had teams in the playoffs in the past, I'm sure, isn't it? Isn't that the
Yeah, and I
case?
think uh, I think probably top end of the top six as well.
Uh-huh.
When he makes the top six, it's generally quite comfortable.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens next season. Sloss with a lot of the possession, not really doing much with it. No assist for Batistuta in the second half. He does pick up the man of the match with that performance. It's a bit of a different formation for Craig as well. He is normally very much a 4-1-3-2 guy, but he's had to change it up a little bit this year. Obviously, didn't have the fullbacks really to who I mean, they just weren't working for him really. Sanyol and whoever else he tried out there, they just wasn't getting the results. So he's gone with a bit more of a narrow one, and in this case, it turned out all right for them.
Mm.
Yeah, and strong performances. We'll see what went wrong at Sloss. I mean, nothing really went wrong as such. They went a man down and just didn't have it in them to recover in the second half, unfortunately. What do you expect from Sloths next year? I mean, some people would argue that he perhaps weakened his side almost a little bit with some of the transfers. Do you think Rob will maybe take some lessons into next season in terms of transfer dealings and in
No,
terms of
no, I don't. I think Rob's his own man. I think Rob makes the deals he wants to make. I think the criticism for Rob's deals have been a bit unfair. I think to say that he makes deals that weaken his team are possibly bordering on being disrespectful, because he plays the game, he knows what he's doing, he's sure he can get results. I think what he has proven is that if he gives a guy 10 games and he has 10 games that are all absolute dross, he gets rid of the guy. And he did it with Buffon with me, and he's brought a keeper in Taibbi who's done really, really well for him. So I think to criticise Rob for weakening his team every time he makes a transfer is wrong, frankly.
Well, we'll levy those accusations at whoever it was that made them, but but it's a fair point, and he obviously has improved the squad. I mean, he has improved since since wherever he was at earlier. I mean, finishing ninth this season is if he does indeed do that, I think obviously Dragons could still leapfrog them. But anyway, good finish to the season from Sloss, apart from the last game here, and obviously the 5-2 last time out was a good one too. Would have been a better one to end on. Either way, we'll move on because we have to travel to Swindon now, and let's have a look. And yeah, for anyone who thinks why things can be a little bit tricky for the Devils, this is why, and this is obviously why I haven't. I remember that because it's a good job I checked, because somehow this hasn't saved, which is not ideal. Wonder what else hasn't saved. Okay, well, we'll see. Anyway, let's see the tactics. Yeah. Okay. Well, fortunately, it's not a big one, so we'll just do that. So my apologies for those of you who have to now sit through this. Um, Chris and Mills, talk amongst yourselves.
Well, there's some big names to be missing, aren't there? Because Montero, who obviously, as soon as the final whistle blew last week, anyway, Fifey knew he was without Montero for the last game of the season. Elmander's injury, which is a bit of a stinker. Ordinarily, with it just being Elmander, wouldn't be a problem, but he's had a decent season, and Fifey's got him playing really well. And all of a sudden, that becomes a miss as well, and you're bringing lads in who are your foreign signings who haven't really proven themselves yet.
Mm. Yeah, he's not. I mean, Ebiede and Libropoulos, Chris, I mean, came in, didn't do a fantastic job. Um, as you can see, he's had a lot of injuries. He's had a lot of unhappiness in the squad, and that's obviously not been great. I could have sworn I went in and saved this, but anyway, it should be. I'm just double checking now. Inzaghi's, Oliveira, Zidane, Ebiede, Pancaro, Holland, Hart, Chris, Mills, and Carroll. Oh well, okay. Well, good job. I checked these. Check these little things.
I'm sure
Um,
he'll tell you in the chat now whether you've got that right. I'm assuming that's right, is it?
Arrow on
He
Zidane.
wants an
Yeah, he's
arrow on
right.
Zidane.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. Yeah. Very good. Do you want me? You can pick a captain as well, Fifey, then, because I'm not sure that's picked on the. It's not sure that's picked on the instructions. Anyway, what do you make of Swindon's season?
Um,
Uh, at, unlucky. I mean, I think he did a really good job in getting Montero in. I think that was it's unfortunate that Montero is the kind of player he is, but he has a 784 average. I mean, that was a good signing. It's
it
just
does. I mean,
unfortunate that the sort of attacking half of it hasn't really. I mean, 22 goals in 14 games in the Super League is not a lot. Yeah, it's probably
yeah, I
it's
think I think the glass half full guy would say what a great season Montero's had. Look at those stats. Look at those figures. The other guy would say, look how much work Montero's had to get through to get those numbers. Um, and I think you'd much rather probably have a guy who's maybe not having to make that many tackles and key tackles per match. Centre backs who are maybe having a bit of a quieter time. Um, I think his team and his squad is okay. I don't think it's the best. I think he's got names in there who, if you're talking about this as being a real life team from back in the day, they're top of the league all day long with Kluivert, Zidane,
Mhm.
Ronaldo,
Mhm.
Seedorf. But when you're talking champ manager, they're not top players for me. Zidane's not done it for them. He doesn't quite have the goals there.
Mhm.
And I think he's got one guy at the back who can maybe shore it up for him. The one surprise for me would be that Costanzo hasn't played more in goal. I know Roy Carroll's done okay for him when he's come in recently,
Mhm.
but
Richard
um,
Wright as well. I mean, they
I
had
would,
good
I would,
averages,
I would,
so
I'm
maybe.
a little surprised that Costanzo hasn't
Yeah.
played more.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what else happens here. If the hooligans' tactics aren't changed either, then I've loaded the wrong save file. But then you can get an insight into what I have to go through in there. Let's see. Yeah, I have loaded the wrong save file, haven't I? Right, okay, well, in that case, brace yourself, guys, because that means I'm going to have to set up all of the teams for each of the individual matches. I don't know if we want to take a break and come back in a few minutes and do that. Unfortunately, we've had so many technical issues and I couldn't actually load the save earlier. So I saved it, moved it to a different folder, reinstalled the game, reloaded, re-uploaded the save, but it looks as if I've uploaded the backup. Um, so. Um, yeah, I think I'll probably just put a bit of music on or something like that, and we'll come back to you in like 10, 15 minutes. Obviously, we're not going to go anywhere. We're not going to change anything in terms of the teams, but I'm going to have to go in and set up all of the tactics for each side. So yeah, apologies for that. I'll put up a little kind of pause picture for you guys, and let's see if I can do that. There we go, and then we'll be back. We'll be back shortly once once order has been restored. So just bear with us a second. It will be probably about 10 minutes or something like that. We'll get the squad set up, and we'll be back with all of the live action. I wonder if anyone's still here, if they have all gone home. Let's see if we can bring this back up. Um, right, I hope you can hear us and see us. Of course, that was a little bit of a temporary setback. Uh, I'll spare you the details of how this stuff like this happens, but unfortunately, I've had to still hear and see you. All good, guys. Yeah, so apologies for that. 15,
That
20
good
minutes
stuff.
or whatever it was. Um, Unfortunately, technical issues with the file means that I've got I've saved like three or four of them every week, and I've updated the wrong one. No, I've updated one and then loaded the wrong one. But because we've already played a game, I can't go back and do it. So I've changed all the tactics, and um, hopefully should be okay. So apologies for that. I thought I was going to finish early tonight, but that doesn't look like it. Never mind. We were just about to kick off. We've already checked. Right, can we do this? I think. Do we? No. Okay, so I think this means that we're going to have to play the Swindon against Hooligans game last because I can't click back unless I can take. Oh, I can. Okay, cool, okay, okay, okay. And this one I did default. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Everything's fine. Apologies. Welcome back, Mr. Edwards. What do you
Yes,
think?
thank you. Yeah, that's,
let's
that's
pretend. Let's pretend nothing happens. Swindon Devils, you already spoke about. We already covered their season to some extent. Hooligans, interesting. Um, what do we make of Thiago and his formation and what's been happening with Hooligans this season? Clearly he's had a bunch of work commitments. I know he's had to travel down to the capital a lot, and so we've not seen many of his regular sort of like barbecue, beer, cigarette kind of videos.
yeah,
The,
yeah. We've missed it, and we hope. I mean, I do, and I'm sure the majority of the lads in the league will agree with me that like you just hope that he's able to stick with us and be able to get more back to the old level of contribution that we all loved. And you know, whenever he talks about perhaps not being a part of the league, we all jump in and tell him he's not allowed to leave, and that's because he's so, you know, so well loved in the league. So yeah, let's hope he can find the time next season to make more of a contribution
mhm,
that we all want from him. I mean, as far as his team goes, it doesn't matter how involved he is. He's not changing that lineup, well, not changing that formation, even if he's got all the time in the world.
mhm,
Personnel will change depending on who's not performing for him. Um, and it's generally controversial decisions around the DMC area, really, um, that have the talking points. He seems to be over his defensive injury issues. Now that the season's gone, which is probably a bit of a shame for him. And yeah, that team should have done better this season, really.
mhm.
And rather surprisingly, I think considering the consistency of the team selection, the consistency of the formation, the one thing he hasn't been consistent on is his results. It's been so up and down. It's untrue.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it has been very up and down for him, and yeah, as you mentioned, he's not afraid of changing things, but changing the tactic is not on the cards, I think. But anyway, I mean, he's perhaps been unlucky with not getting anything out of Beckham, and he did have that kind of run with I think 2 or 3 months with 6 or 7 injuries pretty much the whole time, which didn't help at all. But we'll see what happens tonight. Swindon Devils at home to Hooligans. Obviously, Swindon currently on 19 points, Hooligans on 27, so nothing's going to change in terms of the position for Swindon. Hooligans can jump above BTEC, but we'll see. Your predictions for this one? How do you see this one going? Do you think Swindon will
Uh,
pick up some points or?
yes, Swindon for the win, Martin. Swindon for the win, I think. But yeah, it could be any number of goals this game.
Well, we'll have a look. Say Elias, who hasn't featured much, is back. Perhaps a little bit surprising that he didn't get much more of a look in at Hooligans, considering the patience that he's shown. Someone like Kennedy, who obviously had a great run towards the end of last season. Oh, and there's Defoe, another player we haven't seen much of at all this season with the opener for Hooligans. Uh, a couple of chances for Swindon, but
They're not offering as much as I thought they would, if I'm
no.
honest.
Well,
But
there's Filippo Inzaghi, just as you say it, it's it's
ex
bound to
BTEC,
happen.
Oh,
Santa Cruz firing back, but it was ruled out for offside. Second offside goal of the evening after Duffs in the first game. Yeah, fairly even, I would say. Before we press the button, would you agree?
I think it felt like Hooligans edged it to me. I think Swindon's first half there was maybe a little bit disappointing, and it felt like they were a bit lucky to go in level.
Well, you're right. I'm not sure what I was looking at. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
maybe I was
Yeah,
a
no,
bit.
fair assessment. Fair
Yeah,
assessment then.
maybe it didn't feel that dominant, but it was certainly. It's certainly the edge. They definitely edged it. That's for sure.
In terms of the action zones, they've not had most of the possession, and it has been kind of sort of evenly spread out. But they obviously have been the better on the ball. Roy Carroll doing a good job there. Filippo Inzaghi getting a goal, Ibieta getting assist. It's actually not a poor performance, sort of like like individual rating by individual rating, but I mean, it's weird that a side like this. I mean, I know he's on the bench, but they've got Clarence Seedorf, they've got Zidane, they've got Oliveira, who can be creative. That they're somehow lacking creativity with the players that they have at their disposal, I guess. I mean, Filippo Inzaghi, not a bad striker. Kluivert's got like 10 or something for the season, but I don't know. I don't know. If you're talking about building from the back, maybe Matt Hall and Pancaro Hart. I mean, I know it's not a first choice side he's got out here, but maybe they've been struggling a little bit with the back line. I don't know. We'll hopefully see a very very different Swindon Devil side next year. I think Fife is obviously a real benefit to the league to have around, both with his passion and his organization in terms of not just the blog but also all of the kind of conference calls and the videos and things
Oh,
like that, which are
absolutely. Yeah,
hilarious.
yeah. You can't have a. Yeah, that's. It's not a Super League without Fife. It just isn't happening. It's not that. That won't be allowed to happen.
And Hooligans, if you look at the individual player stats, is very very similar. A couple of eights, a couple of sixes, and then it's just been Defoe and Rocky Santa Cruz who's kind of been the difference for them. Ronaldinho is a bit of an enigma um, for me, to be completely honest. Why is he not any better? I mean,
Yeah, I
look
mean,
look at him.
he started the season injured, didn't he? And he missed the first sort of half a dozen games, and then you were hoping he was going to hit the ground running. By which point he was already kind of coming into a team that wasn't particularly firing.
Hmm.
So maybe a bit unfair to ask him to, carry the team and turn the fortunes round by
Hmm.
himself. And I think sometimes hooligans, they have guys who pop up and do something. They might not necessarily have a great game, but they have guys who are capable of doing something. Like you look at Kennedy's, he doesn't always contribute very much, and his average ratings aren't always great, but it's always good for an assist or a goal every couple of weeks. So,
Mm,
and I think that's probably why Thiago keeps him in, because he is always capable of something.
yeah.
The other guys might have a 7 or an 8 every week and not actually
Yeah,
realistic.
yeah, someone like Brad Emerton, who I've been critical at. I mean, he's been playing regularly, but not really doing a lot. But anyway, we'll have a look at the second half. Say Elias, who I said that we haven't seen much of. He got a six and a yellow card. Maybe that's why we haven't seen so much of him. We'll see if Hooligans can convert some of all these chances into some goals, or if Swindon can fight back in the second half. It's a good start for Hooligans again.
Oof.
But it's Matt Holland of all people. Oh, he's picked up an injury. I believe that Clarence Seedorf will probably be the best suited to slot in that to that position. So Matt Holland, what do you
Yeah,
make?
yeah.
What do you make of that? Matt Holland, is that his debut? Is that his or his first of the season? Oh,
Oh,
it's all going downhill for Thiago and the boys now. Matt Holland. Oh no, he has had a couple of games this
well,
season
you did
actually.
mention at the start of the game that he probably wasn't good enough, Martin. So, well done for that one, mate.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
think
I mean,
lucky for Swindon that they already got that second goal before Oliveira got injured, because he's probably one of their most creative players, and that is a good result. And
yeah.
I think I'm 2 for 2 now, aren't I?
Finish on a high. Swindon Devils picking up 3 points at the end of the night, 22 points for the season, um, and yeah, so there's a good solid win there for Swindon Devils. A good goalkeeping performance. I mean, we mentioned that it's surprising that we haven't seen Constanzo, but to the credit of the Swindon keepers, they haven't actually been the problem. The ones
No,
who who've
no.
been in there, it's very rare that they've had a proper howler. So that was a decent one. Um, Yeah, Hooligans didn't create much in the second half, and a little bit. Yeah, I mean Matt Holland, man of the match. What do you make of that?
It's difficult to read too much into it when the man of the match gets an 8, doesn't it? An 8 for man of the match kind of points towards the quality of the overall game and the overall performance of 22 players. I think what I would probably look at from Fifey's perspective is that they were all 8s and 7s. You might not have had a 9, but you didn't have a 6, apart from your guy who comes off the bench. Uh, so a good job all round. He'll be wondering why they couldn't have done that more often this season.
True.
I think he'll also be hoping that the next draft is maybe a little bit kinder to him than this one was.
Yeah, I mean, especially, I mean, we can, okay, fair enough. Matt Holland did well, but I think especially defensively, I think he was maybe handed a little bit of a rough deal in the same way that that Craig were missing creative players and things like that. But yeah, we'll see in the next draft. In terms of hooligans, it's more of the same, unfortunately. I mean, Ronaldinho with 8 shots, 4 of them on target, but no goals and no one else really contributing a whole lot. It's a little bit spread out and just a little bit sort of like sporadic the kind of efforts that we've seen from the hooligans players, which obviously is why they are where they are. And I mean, barring an enormous loss, that secures a 12th place for you anyway, doesn't it? So
Without kicking the ball, yeah, I already
yeah,
know finishing, yeah, yeah. Because I mean, as soon as Hoddesdon got their result, I knew I couldn't get any higher. So it was only a case of whether hooligans were going to catch me, which
consoli-
obviously happens.
consolidating 12th place. It's not bad for a day's work when you haven't even done anything. So,
Yeah,
but either
but
way,
12th
we'll
place is still awful, isn't it? You look at my squad, and anyone who finishes 12th place with that squad needs a good slap.
Well, we'll see. So obviously, I take it you are happy with your formation that we've had a quick check.
Yeah, on a moon.
So you've changed it a little bit too attacking with the wide players in the last game against Sloths. Do you feel it looks it's just those two you've dragged back, isn't it? Danielson and Contra, the AML, so they're dragged back to MLs. Is that the main difference?
I think I left myself maybe slightly wide open last week against Somerset. Yeah, so they've been brought back. I can never seem to get too up front firing, so Palermo's up there on his own, and yeah, Prutton comes in for Malevsky, who's suspended. Other than that, we're pretty much like the last couple of weeks, but hopefully a bit more solid.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, you've got probably the smallest squad in the league, but you haven't really been that hampered by injuries this season. You've not had, I mean, I think you had a couple of weeks in a row where people kept picking up red cards and you had to deal with
Yeah,
suspensions, but you've not had like long-term kind of concern over any of your players, have you? Do you think the small squad has made any difference at all to you?
unless it affects morale in any particular way, then no. I think the small squad, I've been very lucky, as you say. It has been red cards that have been an issue, and at times it's been red cards in similar positions. So being without Nesta and Ferdinand in the same week.
Hmm.
But like we're all in the same boat. We can only ever put 11 guys out at once. And if you've got 22, 23 decent players and 11 or 12 of them are top players, then you should be okay. Unfortunately for me, I haven't it hasn't clicked for me this season.
Yeah, I mean, 32 goals scored is I mean, it's not far off. Teams like Ardsley, Panathinaikos, Midlothian, it's less than a handful of goals off. That doesn't really seem to be the main problem. Some of the teams are obviously conceding a little bit less, so there's not been much in it in the games that I would say, as some like Hooligans have conceded 47, you're not there. Dragons conceded 55, that's not the area that you're in. Swindon 45.
No, and I think if you look at if you gave me a bunch of points for the games that I lost where I was the better team,
Mm,
then I think you'd be looking at a team that was maybe just pushing towards sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth.
mm.
Um, because yeah, I lost a fair few games there that I shouldn't have lost where I was the better team.
Mhm,
And again, if you included the disallowed goals, I'll probably be top.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, well, there was definitely a lot of them at throughout the season. Let's have a look at Dragons up next. Oh, Ryan's asking how much have you played Abel Xavier actually? A handful or something like that?
Yeah, it's a shame for him because every time he's come in, he's done really well, but he hasn't really been. a mainstay. Unfortunately, maybe 5, 6, 7 games. Um, yeah,
Yeah, pretty
I'm one who
stiff.
kind of, I have my guys and I play my guys, and if you're not one of my guys, you're kind of on the periphery a little bit, which is a shame for Xavier because he has done pretty well. I know that Ryan's probably quite interested because he came from Bolton
Hmm.
as part of the Stam deal. So yeah, let's just say he probably hasn't been as quite as successful as the other half of that deal.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's a little bit like Boomsong for Ryan. I think Boomsong had like one good game or something like that, and then out in the cold again. But and same position, I think. Anyway, if we look at Dragons, obviously we mentioned before that Dragons had conceded 55 goals this season, which obviously is terrible. Um,
I think most of those 55 goals were
Came in the
conceded
first
in
four
the
or five
first
games when
5 games of the season. Yeah,
when a well-meaning but rather flamboyant and perhaps a little bit I don't know what to say Boise was kind of part of the action, and they brought in Lee Fowler as a regular starter at like age 9 or something like that. It all went a little bit pear-shaped. Is there Super League rules and regulations anywhere? I have so many questions. It's kind of all in my head, but you're more than welcome to fire questions up. Yeah, like Ryan said, fire the questions in there. I think most people know the answers. I'll keep an eye on it, and if they're wrong, then I'll let them know. Um, but what do you make of the Dragon side now? I mean, what did they lose at the beginning of the season? I think they lost 4 or 5 games heavily. I'm
yeah.
not saying they would
Four
have
nil was
won
a
all of them. If they'd won
Yeah,
three
four
of
nil was
them,
a very common score, wasn't it? Scoreline in their games, and I think that the addition of Boise to the backroom staff probably didn't necessarily help because in the previous season he kind of found a formula that was working and narrowly missed out on the playoffs after a long run, and
hmm
all the chopping and changing at the start of this season seemed to undo all that good work, and it's took them another few games to find a similar formula they've been able to stick to. And I think even at the start of this 6 games in, you would never have thought that they were 10th, maybe aiming to finish ninth if they beat me.
Yeah. I mean, he could have easily, I would say he could have easily picked up more points, but I'm a Dragons supporter, as everyone knows. So he could have easily picked up more points at the start of the season. And I mean, 9 points extra is not unrealistic, I would say, for Dragons, which would have been 41, which would have been guaranteed playoff spot already. So, but hindsight is always a wonderful thing. What's the highest fee paid this season, and who is it for? So when the clubs usually swap players, so there's no like real genuine fees involved. It's only really for players that are brought in from outside of the league, where there's like a, let's say, a realistic fee. Sorry to the answer in the comments, just in case that yeah, as Swinton said there are players who have joined from outside of the league for like 10, 15 million or whatever. Yeah. Either way, let's kick off this one. Let's get your predictions. As mentioned, there's only really Guardiola in for Tomasi in. Right, let's see if we can get this to go away in this one. So not much change for Dragons there. Keen and Giggs, key man for you this evening to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I think as the ends of the season, he still doesn't probably know where Keane and Giggs were best suited because they've chopped and changed so much, but they've generally been their biggest contributors. I mean, I fancy us tonight, but you just never know because there's always goals in Dragons games, and we've just come off the back of conceding 5. So yeah, yeah, I don't know. I fancy us though. Let's do
Home
it.
win, home win. It's got to be a home win, hasn't it?
Yeah.
You can root for the home side, and I'll cheer for the away side.
Oh, that's not fair.
No, completely unbiased, obviously.
Oh,
Lots of action at both ends, as it usually is in the Dragons games. There's been lots of goals in it combined. I think Kieran has more goals combined. I think that's probably the only one. Dragons currently sitting at 98 combined. Oh, and that's Martin Palermo opening the scoring. BTEC take the lead with just over half an hour played. And Martin Palermo again. I mean,
well, who would have thought it?
where's where's he been? Where's he been all season?
He's had an okay season, but it's just not been a great season. But I do seem to
It's
do better with what I've got.
not been a great season. He scored 5 goals in 16 games. No, it's not been a great season.
No,
But
no. 2 more in the second half, it'll look a little bit better.
I mean, you've got to say if you're in it, you're taking your chances. It's not it's not a bad first half, is it? I mean, you're keeping them completely away from your end and dominating possession. They're only 19% down in your area. You got to be, as a manager, you got to sit back and be happy with that, haven't you?
Yeah, it felt dominant. It felt a little bit more dominant than that actually. Stats wise, I'm surprised that it was only that. But yeah, they obviously didn't seem to get a sniff, which is good, which is also quite rare. But
Hmm.
yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, not many key passes though, so maybe creating stuff could be an issue. But let's see. They've not created anything at all. That's unusual for Dragons, to be honest, to be completely outplayed in that way. Tomasi comes in for Guardiola, obviously does a good job. Pamo Luka, who he was brought in that DMC role instead of Young Suk, whatever his name was. Not the
Yeah.
best. Rustico gigs. I mean, he's another one who wasn't handed a brilliant squad, to be completely honest. Jamie and Dragons, wasn't he?
But yeah, I mean, we talk about the guys they brought in, and a couple of them aren't great. I mean, Young Suk is fantastic on your home saves, and he's obviously very versatile as well. But he, I think if they'd have stuck with him a bit longer in this league, they might have got something out of him. Probably more so than Carr, who
Mm.
who is never does much for me. Going into the second half, I'd be a little bit concerned about Simon Davis moving off a five with him being ex-B Tech as well,
Mm.
which worries me a little bit.
True. Surprising to see Kalatze on a five as well. That's unusual for him. But let's see what happens in the second half. Obviously, Palermo could still get his hat trick. We saw Batistuta, who's not been prolific either really this season, get his hat trick earlier on. So, but he does have Giggs and Davies that can come in the second half. They have done that before and cause trouble. 20 minutes gone in the second half already. Nothing yet, but you never know.
Yeah, final whistle right now would do me.
I think Buffon's keeping you in it a little bit there in that kind of short spell that they had there, but it
Yeah,
looks as
and we
if you're
don't we
gonna
don't score 3 goals in a game ever, so let's
look
just get that final whistle blown.
looks as if you're gonna go the distance with the 2-0 lead. I mean, they are creating a lot more in the second half, Dragons, but yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
I agree.
That's it.
That'll be
Um,
easily solved.
let's have a look. Um,
Well,
yeah, much better in the much better in the second half for Dragons there. Um, and for you, so I mean, you hung on, I guess.
it felt like it, didn't it? Yeah, it felt like we were hanging on.
It's it's a little bit. It wasn't a hugely exciting second half. Let's put it that way. But
A
but
10
let's
as well. That's a rarity. A 10 from a BTEC player. That's really rare.
yeah, you don't see that all the time. I mean, Martin Palermo getting a good run out there and obviously two goals, not no assists. Surprisingly, but there you go. I mean, Contra had a key pass, so maybe he can half claim it. Everyone else getting sevens, and Rio Ferdinand obviously doing a great job both in terms of passing and in terms of keeping stuff out. So, I mean,
Yeah,
in,
it is.
end of the season for BTEC, you finished on 30 points for 26 games, 9 wins out of 26. It's below your expectations. I think it would be
Of
fair to
course it
say.
is. Yeah, I mean, 5 or 6 games in, I think I was second in the league. And we were looking really good. And then I just went on a run of, I think it was 8 defeats on the bounce out, and just couldn't arrest the slide. But yeah, we started off the season really well, picking up a point away at Valen, and when Valen were
Hmm.
probably in a bit better run of form, and we picked up some really impressive results early on, and then it just slid so badly, and we never got it back.
Yeah. Um, and Dragons. Uh,
Uh,
what stands out for you in terms of in terms of Dragons and their performance and what would you have done different in terms of his especially his strike force? Robbie Keane, Shearer, Brosek, Owen, Viduka. They never really got firing.
they didn't, and I think given how we were all so impressed with Robbie Keane as a lone AMC in the past, I think the first half of the season this season where he didn't play in that role. I think that would have been, for me, that was a given that you would slot him straight back in there. And I don't think he ever really got his best players in his best positions. Um, Again, not one of the better squads. I think he mentioned that during all the transfer activity that if he was going to get anybody in, it was always going to cost him Tomasi as well. And you
Hmm.
can see why he doesn't want to get rid of Tomasi. He was his best player tonight, and it was a difficult one for him this season.
Yeah, and I mean, Carini, one of the highlights, you would say. I mean, when your goalkeeper, a little bit like you pointed out with Pablo Montero for Swindon, if a keeper is one of your, players of the season. Yeah,
You don't want your keeper to be noticed at all. It's like it's like what they always would say about centre back or a decent
hmm
DMC. Half the time, if they've had a good game, if you don't even know they're on the pitch.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, that concludes BTEC Troop, and I believe that's the end of that's the end of BTEC Troopers, I believe. Is that correct? Would I be correct in saying that?
Do you know, at the moment, I do have a new franchise ready to go. When I'm quite happy with the new brand. It'll be sad to see them go because I inherited BTEC and I never chose BTEC. I inherited them, and yeah, I mean, I'd like to keep it, but I feel as though there might be a little bit of a curse there. So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, if it was up to me, I'd still have all the old BTEC rejects in my team, Mark Bircham at left back and all that. But I know things change and things move on. So yeah, the new franchise might get announced once this season's finished in its entirety.
Well, we'll see how many people will be queuing up for your services at that stage, but we'll obviously see at the end of the season. We move on to our league champions, or I mean Well, I guess they are the reigning champions, Bolton Phoenix, and the current regular season champions, Churchtown. I'll let Ryan have a quick look at this, but I think it should be the right one. Otherwise, then Ryan, please say something. What do you make of Ryan's formation tonight, Ian? His with Stam and Henshaw, Gary Neville on the right wing back, and things like that. Is that? I mean, I think Raul and Figo. I mean, Raul have been so bad recently. I think he's done it to get those two back in sort of working order because he had quite a lot of success with those two in those positions earlier on, I think.
Well, I think he always wanted Raul involved because originally he did have the captaincy, didn't he? I know you just took it off in there on the screen, but
Yeah,
originally, originally he was the captain. I think that's why he wanted to sort of keep him in as well.
yeah. hmm
And it was difficult for him to take him out because Bolton might not always have all their players firing all the time, but they're generally winning games. So sometimes you have that problem of, why would you take a guy out? He might only be having sixes or sevens, but your team keeps winning. So I think there's that element as well with some players. I think Neville at right back. I think Zambrotta's
Still
obviously
injured.
a big miss
hmm
for them, and I think he's obviously been criticised over the course of the season for maybe having Oncho in instead of Neville, given how well Neville has played for him in the past. Um, but it all just points towards choices and options and guys doing a great job for him. Really, I mean, when we had the talk. The talks with Fifey quite a long time ago now, and he asked everyone to do their 1 to 14 in order. And I think I was one of the very few that said Bolton will win it all the way back then, even when they were, they hadn't really got into their stride yet. So nothing's changed on that score for me. I still think they'll win. They'll retain the Super League, and I think the choices that he has and the options that he has are part of that reason.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this could be like a preliminary sort of the grand final. If Bolton win tonight, then they will finish second, just 2 points behind Churchtown, and obviously be among the favourites to reach the grand final as well. Um, let's have a look at tonight's opponents, Churchtown Massive. So Churchtown's formation was in the file that I'd saved, so they're correct, or at least it appears so. Um, he's changed it up a little bit. He's gone less attacking than he normally would, Kieran.
Yeah, he's protecting Khan a little bit more, isn't he? Who is prone to throwing the odd stinker in.
hmm
I think it's nice to see Silvestre in the team. I think Silvestra's a proven Super League winner, who I don't think he's had a huge amount of appearances for Churchtown this season, has he? I may be wrong about that.
No,
Um,
no, he has been out for a fair bit. I think 10 in total.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
he's been sort of chopping and changing at the back a little bit. He obviously had Maldini, who did a pretty fantastic job last season, but he's already starting to struggle this season with his age or whatever the reason is. So he's had Thuram in there, who's been unhappy for various reasons. It's just not been as easy um, as uh, as he'd perhaps hoped
His two
for the
wide
back
men have
there.
been fantastic, though, haven't they? Duff and Welsh have done really, really well for him, and Soroczynski could play any of those back six positions
Yeah,
with
yeah,
with
absolutely.
ease.
Ferguson starting to pick up some pace as well now come the end of the season. And he obviously has that advantage of having, I mean, he's outscoring his nearest rivals, which are Bolton Phoenix, by 15 goals over 26 games. He's also conceding like nearly 20 more, yeah,
Yes,
but there have been goals in it. You can say that maybe the one concern for Churchtown is that Ruud van Nistelrooy has picked up an injury. I mean, he's likely to be back for a grand final, but he's definitely out for tonight. So we'll we'll obviously see how that goes. If Olisa Debe, who has been pretty good, as a substitute or as a replacement for him, but without
and what's the
Larsson, without
situation
Ruud
with
van
Larson?
Nistelrooy,
Is Larson injured?
yeah, both of them are out, I think.
Right.
But back within the next couple of weeks, so back for a potential grand final, but obviously not ideal for him.
No.
Your predictions for this one?
Yeah, Bolton to win this one. I think, especially with the home advantage, I think they'll be okay tonight.
Yeah, I mean they obviously had a 1-1 draw with Chudley last time out. Um, and Bolton and Churchtown drew 1-1 with Swindon, so they're not coming into this game in the best of form. But maybe that's also the kind of the curse of the red Q. You already get that next to your name, and then the players are a little bit, I mean, not relaxed about it. But let's see how it. Oh, there's an early injury to him. I think we go with. I mean, I'd normally just put Hersey out there, but
Well, it's either that or you bring Balletti in and then swap him
yeah,
at Soroczynski. That's your
uh,
choices, isn't it?
no, we want to win, don't we? He wants to win, doesn't he? He used to play Esteberia on that right hand side, so
Did yeah.
he can play him out there. I think so. I think so. If not, then oh well. Well,
Well,
that's
you
this.
disallow goals tonight,
Yeah, that's in each of the. Was there one in the? Is that one in each game so far then?
apart from none for me,
Oh,
which
not
is
none for you. Well,
which is
that was unusual. It's been fairly quiet since that disallowed goal. A couple of chances, mostly for Churchtown, to be completely honest. They look the stronger side so far. Um, and just as I say that, Montella, top scorer of the league, possibly, comes up
he's
and
always a danger, isn't he? He's always a
yeah,
danger.
he is. I mean, Ryan predicted that he would be the top scorer in the top five last season. I'm not entirely sure if he made it, but it does look as if he's going for the top scorer on us this season, and he's obviously got the advantage of Ruud van Nistelrooy being out injured. Churchtown maybe just edging it in terms of chances, but three on target for each side, and yeah, Bolton 1-0 up at half time, and as you say, home advantage. Counts in their favour. The ball's not been in their penalty area much either, and looking pretty solid. I mean, not great, but
They always get the job done, don't they? I think that's why, when we talk about who's going to be doing a job at the end of the season, I think I look at these two teams, and you've got one team who's less likely to throw a 3-0 defeat in there at any one time, and who's more likely to just get the job done when it's asked of them. And first half there, that seems what Bolton are doing. Montella, added benefit of being up front on his own as well, which always guarantees you a few more goals.
mm,
And yeah, I like the balance of the team. I think they've. It just felt that first half like they might not have stats wise edged it, but they just felt in control to me.
and Yab Stam doing a sterling job there at the back, and Henshaw's not got much to do, obviously being up against only one opponent. Sixes across the board for Churchtown. Not been very effective. Sylvester's done okay at the back, I guess. Turam as well. It's always a little bit strange when you have these kind of one striker. I mean, what have we got? One striker and two AMCs for each side, and they're up against two DMCs and two DCs and four DMCs. So it's effectively 3 against 6 up at the opposite end of the
Yeah,
pit. So
well,
it's not.
Bolton have only got Decor as the DMC, haven't they? So they may be offering a little bit more
Yeah,
going,
well,
going forward than Churchtown, which you would hope for as the home team.
true. Yeah, yeah. So 5 against 3, fair enough. Do you regret the transfer of Yap Stam? Is the question from the audience.
No, he wasn't getting in the team, and if I've had a couple of decent performers in this season, it has been Nesta and Ferdinand. My Ferdinand bossed the game again tonight, so
Mm.
Stamp probably still, unless I went three at the back, which I'm never going to do. Stamp still wouldn't be getting in the team.
And who went in the other direction?
Nobody. Oh no, Did I get 8 mil and Xavier?
Oh,
I
right,
think
okay.
I needed. I'd obviously spent all my money, and
Oh, yeah,
I needed to
true.
get some money in. So I let Ibrahim Saeed go
To
uh,
Ardsley.
to Ardsley and Stam go
Yeah,
to
yeah,
Bolton, hence the smaller squad. Because I'd spent big on Ferdinand and Buffon.
Buffon and yeah, fair enough, fair enough. Anyway, let's kick off the second half. Let's see if Bolton can hold on to this. Obviously, that will secure them second place if they do get this. So let's see if they can do that. I think they just need they do need a win in order to be 100% sure. That's Figo, probably the worst player in the first half for Bolton Phoenix. He's coming up with a goal. Ian Robin with the pulling one back for Churchtown. I mean, could they perhaps bring a surprise here? Last couple of
So
minutes? It doesn't look like it, does it?
don't think so. That was a quick
No.
second half. That.
Yeah, it flew past the second half. Bolton hold on to that 1 goal lead. Obviously, initially extending it to two, and then Churchtown pulling one back. That's Bolton securing second place, and obviously an easier route to a potential final. So yeah, good result there for for the Phoenix at home to Churchtown. Kieran a little bit disappointed, I guess, but he's without, as we mentioned, he's without Ruud van Nistelrooy, he's without Henrik Larsson. I think he's without Edgar Davids. Um, I mean, there are three very strong players that he's missing out that are missing out tonight.
Yeah, and I think that maybe reflected in his lineup. He's got a little bit more defensive as opposed to numbers at the back end of the pitch. He's also away from home against the champions, so it was always going to be a tough ask.
Hmm.
And I've always said that Churchtown are probably just about the best away team in the Super League. But if they don't come out all guns blazing and score three or four, they are capable of going down to a top side like Bolton as they have done tonight.
Yeah, and a very professional performance. I mean, even Gary Neville gets an assist from from his wing back position. Dede gets one as well. I can't remember what it's like in terms of suspensions, but I think Henshaw might have been on a yellow or something. I can't remember, but either way,
Yeah,
we'll.
Stam might have been on a yellow as well. I don't know whether that's Stam out for the next game or not.
I mean, I can't remember if they carry over even, but we'll obviously see that. But solid eights across the board, pretty much. Few sevens thrown in. It's got to be a pretty decent evening's work for Bolton Phoenix, and obviously the important thing is that they secure that second spot. For Churchtown, I mean, it's not so much a case of back to the drawing board. It's more back to the to the surgery table and get some of those guys back, the Van Nistelrooys, the Henrik Larssons, the Edgar Davids that they're missing, isn't it? And then back to those attacking formation that have served them well in the past, I guess.
Yeah, not. I mean, you can't be disheartened when you finish top of the league after 26 games. They've scored. We talk about the amount of goals they've conceded, and there's probably only two or three teams in the whole league who've conceded more goals than
Hmm.
them. But the
Hmm.
fact remains, they're top scorers. So if they concentrate more on what they're good at, which is blitzing the opposition, they are going to be a huge danger in the playoffs. The only
Yeah.
thing for me is that Churchtown are always capable of just having a random big defeat.
Yeah, I
Or,
mean, interesting fact about Church because of the results tonight. That means Swindon Devils have conceded 46 goals all season. Churchtown have conceded 47. So, so the team finishing top actually concedes more than the team finishing bottom. That's just what the Super League is all about. They have scored 40 goals more, but there is that. It's a small issue as well, obviously. But yeah, that is what you can do in the Super League.
maybe
Um,
Kieran's got an opening for 5 years as defensive coach for next season.
Well, who knows? Who knows? Anyway, so with that first question, who finishes second? That's going to be Bolton. So that question is now out of the way. Then we can move on to some interesting things here. We obviously have Astor against Chudley up next. So this is going to be a really an interesting one. Let's have a look here and see if I have made the correct changes. I do believe I have. Vogel and Mild. I'm going to double check Alf. Alf, if you see anything untoward in your formation, then do please let me know. I will very, very quickly double check it. But it looks okay to me. Nicolau, Guillermo, Brugink, Rui Costa, Boya, Vogel, Mild, Zanetti, Maserati, Giuliano, and the bench is Langfield, Babel, Paulista, and Alan Smith. No, that's definitely correct. Definitely correct. How many times has Alf changed his tactic this season, Ian, compared to what he did in the past? It's quite a lot, I would suggest.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be getting too carried away with that. When Alf changes his tactic, it's tweaked a little bit, isn't it?
Hmm.
You're not very often going to see him playing, you know, MRs or AMRs or anything like that. So it generally it's usually a variation on a theme, isn't it? More than anything else. And he knows what the one thing that always it gets built around his midfield and DMC, and he always knows how to get the most out of his DMCs, which is proven by him taking Vogel off me and turning him into one of the best players in the league, which he always should have been in the first place.
But
Whether or not that's
somehow conspired to be probably the worst player in the league on average rating anyway last season, or among them for
which
sure.
probably says more about my management abilities than Alf's, I guess. But at least he's seen an opening and took him and done a job on him.
Fortunately, as part of the corruption of the actual save file, no history in the league prior to 15th of January or whenever from this, so the second half of this season, no history exists. There are no results. I can't click on average ratings. You can't see transfer history. Nothing exists prior to that date. So so that's been erased. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. On the other side of the pitch, we have got Chudley Cannons, and same to you, Scott. I have double checked if you're around. I have double checked. I think the tactics are. I mean, the tactics are definitely correct, and I think the lineup is correct as well. But do feel free to jump in and correct me if anything is wrong here. I've double checked Rossini as well, so yeah, no problems there. Um, how do you rank Chudley's chances and their season in general? I mean, Timmy narrowly missed out on the playoffs last year, narrowly-ish, with his side. I think that went down to the last day, or maybe the day the week before.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I think, yeah, it was a long shot last day, wasn't it?
yeah, a little bit less of a long shot. I mean, if Chudley win tonight, then it's really, and it's not odds on, but they're in with a good shout on it. So he has done a pretty decent job, I would say, overall,
Oh,
considering the
he's
challenges of the squad that he was left with and the work that he's had to do.
yeah. I mean, if you're asking me honestly, I would say that if you're talking managers of the year, I honestly think Scott's got to be in that conversation because he hasn't started off the season particularly great because he's inherited a team, and I've said it a million times. It was a very Timmy team. He did a lot of deals and he got a lot of the guys in that he wants in, not necessarily a lot of guys that anyone else would want if they were taking over the team. And it's took him a long time this season to get to grips with that squad, Scott. And I think to be in with a sniff of the playoffs at this stage of the season is a brilliant achievement. If I'm honest,
Yeah.
I think to figure out what guys need to go where, to do what he did with Mark Kerr. No one else has thought of doing that. To sign Andre when the goalkeeper was a massive issue, to sign Lee Chun Soo. Everyone was saying that Carlos Jacks wasn't good enough, and that someone had a stab at him last season, and he's got a tune out of him as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the managerial performances of the season
I mean,
from
you can see Andre coming in. He has 20 games. He's conceded 25 goals. For comparison, in the other 5 goals that they've played, they've conceded 15.
yeah,
so
absolutely. Yeah.
that's obviously making a huge difference that they have had him in goal, and obviously Lee Chun So's come in and done a brilliant job as well. Do you think a big question though, do you think they have enough to upset Alf? and get a win away here? That's the big question, isn't it?
That is the big question. And as far as I've bigged up the job he's done this season, if you're asking me who wins this game, I say Astor.
Oh well, it's starting to get exciting. I will say that. As mentioned, regardless of the outcome of this game, there's still something riding on. Okay, Panathinaikos Valen is kind of. I mean, I guess they could still. Let's not speculate too much. Let's just kick it off and see what
Yes.
happens here. Ooh, Andre with the save. That's going to be something that Scott's going to be hoping there's going to be not too much of. Andre having to make saves. Lehman making saves as well. Both teams have had good chances early on. Obviously, if you can get around that narrow formation, if you can get Bauman and Estebaria working down the flanks shortly, then Asta could be in trouble. But there's also
It just,
space.
yeah, it just feels like Astor have slightly got it under control, but they are coming back into it, Chudley.
They definitely are. Oh, was that a yellow card for Fogel, or did he take a free kick or something? I wasn't sure what happened. Yellow card for Mark Kerr there. Guillermo with Giuliano with the head. A lot of pressure from Asta coming up to halftime here. Still 0-0. Can they hold on? No, they cannot.
Well,
It's Rui Costa from midfield who opens the scoring for Asta Athletic. It's going to
he's
be
in a good run of form, is Rui Costa, isn't he?
yeah, but they are definitely not out of it. A lot of chances. And right at the end, Carlos Shacks as well. Um,
Oh,
Bit of a breathless first half there. I mean, plenty
do you
of
know,
chances. A little bit in Asta's favour, I would say, and the numbers reflect that as we look at them here at
yeah,
halftime.
I can't imagine how the two lads are feeling, to be honest. I feel I'm not even, I don't even manage one of these teams and I don't have any affiliation with either team and I feel nervous as hell. So God knows how Alf and Scott are feeling.
Yeah, I mean, Alf is obviously confident going into this. Scott was relatively confident, but I would say a little bit less than Alf perhaps. But I mean, they've definitely had the chances. Just losing out on a few of those tackles, and yeah, it could have been also different. Zanetti, the captain, putting in a very very strong first half
Yeah.
performance. Materazzi as well, very very strong at the back. Who's the bookings? Well, you'll see that it's Håkan Mild so far. And yeah, who got the assist? No one. Another loose ball. But very very strong performance. Giuliano the only one, and I think he's a central defender, isn't he, against one striker? So that's normal to
It's
have.
only because he's had less to do, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
think.
normal to have one on a six. Alf is afraid that Håkan Mild is going to be sent off in the second half. Do you see Håkan Mild getting sent off in the second half? What do you rate the chances of that happening?
If I was in charge of Asta and I was, Alf's a very similar character to me, I think, and I'd be looking at all the things that I was worried about because I'm that kind of character, and I think I'd be looking at that big yellow card thinking it could turn into a red card. Of course I would, but I'd be
Mm,
also, if you're able to put a level head on and a cool head, you're looking at Zanetti having a great game. You're looking at Rui Costa continuing a fantastic run of form. Um, I noticed in the comments that Ryan had mentioned, apart from Duff, Zanetti at right back is the one he'd
hmm
pick. I mean, if you throw Cafu into that mix, I think any of these guys doing those things, and he's your captain as well, it bodes well for the second half that your top players or your players in form have turned up to continue what they have been doing.
mm. Chotley on the other side, Lee Chun-so spoke about him before the game, saying that he was a great addition to the squad and how well he's been doing. He's up against Javier Zanetti tonight. That's obviously maybe a bridge too far for him so far this evening, but could all change in the second half. Rossini not really getting in amongst the shots, only one he's had so far, and yeah, too many sixes from guys like Estebaria, from Liverani. Matt Kerr only with a six as well. Van Bommel a little bit better, but he's got to up his game in the second half. Well, they all
It
got to up their
does.
games in the second half, haven't they?
I'm not too sure why some of these guys have got as low ratings as they have, especially Lee Chun Soo when they're completing all of their passes and Lee Chun
Seems
Soo, he's got
harsh.
one of his shots on target at five seems harsh. So I think there's room for a good contribution from some of these guys in the second half. But it does just feel to me like Astor is slightly in control of the game.
hmm
Yeah, a nervy second half coming up because I think for the majority of the season, Chudley have had nothing to lose, have they? And all of a sudden, they have got something to lose.
Yeah, everything's on the table. So let's see what happens here. Obviously, if Asta win this game, they go on 40 points level with Valen, but with a much worse goal difference. But they will be above both Panathinaikos and Midlothian. That could be very, very interesting. So let's have a look at the second half and see how it goes. Relatively good start for Chutley. I will say that Simon Mikalev. Oh, let's not talk
Oh,
about him. Let's talk about Lee Boyer
that's
and
it,
how.
isn't it? That's it.
Oh, you think that's curtains?
I think that's it.
25 minutes to go. Chutley Cannons. They definitely need a goal now.
He needs
Um,
3.
yeah, obviously, but that's true. They need three, and that's going to be difficult. There
Oh,
is Lee Chun-so with his 10th of the season. He is playing himself up in the second
well,
half.
this would be something, wouldn't it?
They get
Oh,
another one now. It's going to be a nervy last 10 or 12 minutes, but they just can't breach that
oh,
Asta defense. They have got the chances. They can.
oh,
Oh no, it's been
oh,
ruled out for
blunder.
offside. It was
Oh,
offside.
blunder.
Oh my goodness. Oh, it's going to be too. Is it too late? Oh my.
Oh, my God.
No,
That is awful.
that is
I'm
that
never
is
going to complain about
cruel and
disallowed goals ever again.
cruel and unusual punishment. Oh my goodness, there's a refereeing scandal brewing here, I
Simon
think.
Micaleef. There's a name to look out for next season.
Oh my goodness. Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what to say to that. I feel a little bit like Scott's laptop's feeling at the moment, a little bit
Oh,
shattered, perhaps.
no, I'm in the same boat as you. I feel for him. You don't know what to say about that. I mean, apart from to say that game there is similar to the Chudley season overall, you just got to say what a great effort.
Yeah, huge effort from Chudley. Obviously, never gave up, kept fighting right until the end. They scored the two goals. I said they need another couple of goals, and you quite rightly said they actually need three. Then they scored three goals, had two of them ruled out for offside.
Yeah,
Uh, I mean, Vaster Athletic, I think is the is one of the comments. Fairly even in terms of distribution, 50-50. Chudley kind of kept up in the second half in terms of chances. As Athletics 8-9s, very very strong performance from their guys, wasn't it? Brooklyn
yeah.
with an assist as well.
I mean, as much as we are going to feel for Scott, you do have to say well done, Alf, and the way that he has had things going for Astor recently. That is the way you probably expect it to go, and it is the way I called it at the start of the game. So yeah, well done, Alf. He's got that team firing again. You look at those ratings, and you look at the guys that you wanted to show up. They have shown up. Yeah, great result.
Mm. And if you look at the Chutley, so they definitely put in a strong shift in the second half, didn't they? I mean, Estebaria played himself up to a 9, got an assist. Lee Chun-so played himself, I mean, from a 5. He had 2 goals disallowed. Estebaria was offside on one of them. I think he was offside himself on the other one,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately. But yeah, big
Yes.
a big night in the Super League. We knew it was going to be a big night in the Super League, and that was a that's real
That's
heartbreak for Chudley, but very very exciting for everyone watching, of course.
yeah. No, that was a great game. That I mean, it's ebbed along tonight, hasn't it? But it's what that's really got us all going tonight. I think that's I'm looking forward to the next match as well. Now, can't wait.
Astra Athletic on 40 points, equal with Valen United now. And next up, we have got Valen United, and they play Panathinaikos. Panathinaikos currently on 48, so they are in 6th place. Midlothian currently in 7th place on 38 points. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. As mentioned, we're going to go Valen first. Valen, who welcomed back Totti, so Nakata moves down in midfield for Reed, Saviola and Shevchenko up front. Apart from that, they've got Keane coming in as well, obviously. I think that's probably correct. I can't remember if they swapped sides, Saviola and Shevchenko, but I can double check that probably. Valen's season, nowhere near where they were last year, I guess is the best way to describe it.
Well, I mean, imagine if you could, like, we'd all aspire to a situation by where you have a disappointing season, you're up and down, and you finish comfortably fourth, fifth, whatever. You've got plenty left in the tank. I don't see any reason for Valen to particularly worry, apart from the fact that the strikers are maybe misfiring a little bit. I think he's back to his strongest team tonight, his absolute strongest team. I think I much prefer to see Andreas go with two AMCs in the middle as opposed to, maybe Jeremy's getting involved or Stephen Reed, who isn't an out and out AMC in one of those roles. I think he's got his three strongest guys behind those two as
Hmm.
well. Um, I see nothing but a Valen win tonight. And I don't. Yeah, I think a disappointing season for him, and I think a lot of us would aspire to having a season that disappointing.
Yeah. For me, it's all about Shevchenko. I've been criticizing Shevchenko the whole time, and he's actually scored 14 goals. It's just not, for me, it's just not enough.
And
Um,
they're all a lot of the goals were earlier on the season, weren't they? He's not done it for maybe the last half dozen
hmm
so
hmm
games.
Yeah, well, we'll obviously see. In terms of their opponents tonight, Panathinaikos. So they're without Patrick Pauve. Apart from that, there's a pretty familiar lineup. The 271 is back, obviously. We've got Cannavaro and Udese at the back, Ambrosini, Bart, Jagatos, Nedved, Salihamidzic. At least that's the tactic I've put in. I have put uh, I have put Chris's thing in incorrectly before, so I'm just double checking it. But it does look as if this is the as
Well,
if
he's in the
this is
chat
the
to
email.
give a second, isn't he?
It looks as if this is the email from today. So this is what he's going for. Yeah. Um, any surprises? Any worries? Any concerns? Ryan says no. Riquelme again. Maka in capitals.
Well, I guess that's maybe compounded by the fact that you're playing Eb Sand at AMC. But then again, Raquelme has really done nothing for anybody in the Super League in the last couple of years, has he? So it's no surprise that he's kicking his heels on the bench. I guess the surprise for me, perhaps Thierry Henry could do a really good job either up front or behind the striker.
Mm.
Other than that, I think he's probably got the right guys in the right places. George Artos is obviously fantastic. Nedved, when he gets going for him, is as well. And I mean, Foot's massive.
Scott's
So,
already beaten me. Scott's already beaten me to it.
oh,
I think I repeat that every single week that Nedved's the player of the season. I wonder, is he though? Is he? Well, 20, 25, 5 and 8. Yeah, yes, of course he is. That's what I'm talking about. Well, Cannavaro probably better, but there we go.
I think at one point this season, I think Chris was happy to offload Nedved, wasn't he? When he hadn't quite hit the heights that he was doing later on.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see if he still thinks that at the end of the night, and what Nedved has to offer against Valen United. How do you see this one going? Panathinaikos obviously, I mean they can lose and still qualify if Midlothian lose as well, but they kind of need a win, don't they? Really, just to make sure, yeah, because then it doesn't matter what Midlothian do in terms of Midlothian, they need to win then to go above Astor. But if Panathinaikos win this one, but
Well, I'm on 100% record tonight for predictions so far. I'm saying Val away win. Unfortunately, if I am correct, unfortunately for Chris,
mhm.
I just think back to your absolute strongest 11 when you're probably one of the best teams in the league anyway. Not to take away from the fantastic job that Chris has done this season with another inherited squad that aren't his guys.
Yeah, yeah.
But this game might just be a bridge too far.
hmm Yeah, so Chris mentioned that he wanted arrows on these two guys, and I think considering that I made a horrible mistake with his formation in the El Baltico or whatever the hell it's called, then I'm gonna throw the arrows on there as a as a bit of a payback for that, and we'll see if that makes any difference. But Valen for you, obviously. So let's see what actually happens in the game here, and see if those arrows make a difference. Um, they're a difficult team to play against Valen, I think. Regardless of their poor results to some extent this season, they are a difficult side to play against. And they show that Totti, who's kind of been up and down all season, a little bit like Raul and a couple of these guys, he's just decided that tonight's the night, you know?
It is the night, isn't it? Yeah.
Controversial. You never added arrows for us early in the season. No, and look what it's doing for him, Ian. What are you complaining about? Do you want me to take them off so he can win? Anyway, match stats. That's a Valen formation of last season. As you mentioned, they're back to their best starting lineup. That's uh, that's Valen's for me. That's Valen of last season, isn't
Yeah,
it?
that is proper Valen. Yeah, it is. He's not messing around now, is he?
Not really, no, not really. Um, yeah, he's not even having a bunch of the possession. It's just a kind of a pretty dominant display there. Poor from Dida, poor from Salihamidzic. That's the thing that always worked so well for Valen last season. The arrows on Lisa Rasu and Cafu kind of and it seemed to work for Asta as well because Alpha's kind of copied that. Those two arrows on the wide DMC seems to cancel out the wide players of the opposition if they go with wing backs or AMLs, and it seems to be the case tonight as well. I mean, kind of Aru Desi, they're doing well in the middle, but Salihamidzic and Jagatas are just not finding their feet at all, are they?
Yeah, and it seems to be, obviously the guys doing it have to be good enough, and it doesn't seem to make a difference to Alf or to Andreas as to whether it is a DMC or whether it's a DMR or a DML. If they're loaded with great attributes.
Yeah, Cafu and Zanetti, the two
Well,
best DMs,
captains, I'm
two of the
thinking,
best DMCs in the league that aren't DMCs.
yeah, and I'm thinking Lizarazu as well, who does a good job doing that as well. So yeah, fair play to them. They've got the guys to do it, and they've sent them out, and they've done the job.
hmm And if we look at the performance from Valen, it wasn't even. I mean, they're hardly out of first gear, are they?
No, and the strikers aren't firing still, but then Totti turns up and does his thing. So, the beauty of having those guys, if one or two of them don't quite do it, you've got another one who can come up and do it, and they've always got the foundation to build on.
hmm
Normally, at this point, you might look at Roy Keane, who might have made about 10 tackles away from home, but he's only had to make, he's had 4 tackles. He's won 2 of them.
Yeah.
That's all he's needed to do because they've been in complete control.
hmm hmm Well, we'll have a look and see what happens in the second half. As you mentioned, pretty much complete control, but obviously an early goal from Panathinaikos could swing it all back. But it's Fiore who gets the early goal in the second half, and that's probably going to be curtains for Panathinaikos with only 20 minutes to go. Um, Looks as if they're creating one or two chances, but yeah,
No.
it's Saviola. Oh,
Oh,
wasn't won't
just
count.
allowed goals
It's
again
It's
tonight.
Wayne Oldham in charge. Wayne Oldham haven't sent anyone off. There's Saviola. He does want his goal. So that's four for Valen United. Yeah, it goes from
Yeah.
bad to horrendous. For Panathinaikos there. I was going to say Wayne. Did I not say Wayne Oldham haven't sent anyone off yet?
Yeah, about 5 seconds ago. Yeah.
Yeah, well, he's soon put right to that. So
Exactly.
yeah, Panathinaikos, and they're obviously thrown away. Well, I mean, they had so much of a goal difference. Fortunately for them, they're down to what plus. I want to say +5 now, so still way ahead of Midlothian in terms of goal difference. So that was never in danger. They are still sixth, I think, on 38 points, but they're level on points with Midlothian. Midlothian now, as far as if my maths is correct, Midlothian just need a point
Yeah.
in this game, and then they're in. But they're playing RC Celtic, who have been grinding out results for fun recently. So
1-0 to the Ardsley is the song, isn't it?
yeah, and I mean, and Ardsley are going to need it. Ardsley need at least a point because Valen are now in third, obviously with this victory and their hugely superior goal difference. 4 shots, all on target. Didas had a mare in the second half of the season. Well, he's definitely had a he's definitely had a mare tonight. He's let all those 4 in,
Yeah.
a poor one there. He even let 5 in, but one was obviously disallowed. Um, Valen United, they don't really have the ball, but that's uh, that's fine for them. They don't need the ball apparently. Dida picks up a 3. Oi, 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 oi,
Oh,
oi.
wow. The only 3 of the season from a goalkeeper?
I don't recall a 3. Fifey would normally be the guy who remembers this, I think. I don't
A couple
recall
of
seeing a
times I have
3.
one.
Dida might have had a three. Did I'm kind of thinking. I'm thinking that one. I see Scott laughing, but I'm thinking that Chutley. I think that Timmy had a three or a two with Westerveld or something like that last season, didn't he? I think so. I mean, I'd have to
Just,
dig
just,
back, but
just of all, it's the timing of the three, though, isn't it? It's not just the three; it's the timing of the three. That is,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
All you need is a point or two. All you need is like a little bit of a result,
yeah.
but yeah,
Just
but
keep it tight, lads. Yeah,
keep it tight. Don't fuck anything up. And then your keeper gets a three. Lisa Rasu with two assists and a 10. Cafu picks up a 9 there. Ayala doesn't really do much, but again, it's difficult against a single striker. He gets a 6. Roy Keane not winning as many tackles as you'd perhaps expected. Nakata with an assist. Francesco Totti comes in, gets 2 goals.
yeah.
Um, I mean, I know we said that I mean, Bolton and Churchtown now play each other. Is there an argument for Valen coming back into this with the form they're on at the moment, and if they can keep Roy Keane from not getting suspended and everyone else fresh?
Well, it's not particularly just the form; it's that game, isn't it? It's this game. All of a sudden, if you're in the top six going into next week, you don't ever want to play Valen now.
Mm, mm.
They just look strong from 1 to 11, and everyone's playing well again.
Yeah, there is that. There is that. And if they can keep, as I said, without injuries and suspensions, that's going to be a tricky one. These are Rasu's captain, obviously a generous change. My Super League chairman. Thanks, Martin. Yeah, yeah, obviously. I mean, I'm not entirely. Oh, it was because Totti was out. That's right. And I never changed it back. Yeah. These things happen. These things happen. I did have to. For those who missed it, those who weren't online earlier, they missed the 15 minutes of radio silence when I had to redo all the tactics because I'd loaded the wrong save file. But apart from that, everything's going completely fine. Either way, we've got one more game to get through this evening, and this is the one that's going to decide everything. It's going to decide the future of the league. Well, it's going to decide who ends up in the playoffs. At the moment, we have got, let's risk it. Oh, that doesn't work. Okay, never mind. I'm just going to stop pressing buttons because it will crash. Um, we have got Midlothian. We've got Impensa Vieri up front. We've got Archie back. Scally is in there. Given. What do you make of this one? They need a result now. Midlothian. They are still, as far as I can work out, seventh. So
Yeah, I I look at that lineup, and I think the one thing that's been missing from Midlothian over the past few weeks, bearing in mind they've had so many games where they've created nothing, has perhaps been a guy slap bang in the middle of the team. And to have five in that, I know they've got long arrows, but to have five in that sort of defensive wall in front of the centre backs, it's if you can get the ball to back Vieri and Mapenza, you can get goals. Um, the one thing that surprises me a little bit is I'm sure I watched a video of him asking Ramelow to come and dig him out of the shit, and he's not in the team or on the bench,
yeah,
which surprises me.
it's an odd
Um,
one that, but it's accurate, I'm sure.
yeah, but yeah, so that would concern me going into this game. Is maybe the last half a dozen games where they've created next to nothing, and they don't seem to have done anything around that midfield region to change that. So it's just a case of whether they can create something tonight to get,
Mm.
because they're probably going to need to score a goal or two.
Yeah, because Arsenal have been they've been on a 1-0 rampage again, haven't they? Or at least had a couple of good results in well, they had a 1-0, a 1-0, a 1-1,
Yeah.
and so forth. And in terms of their tactics, um, is it the strongest squad? Candela, could he play? Could Christian Kivu play? Is he resting a few guys here? Do you think?
I think it's a fantastic squad that he's got. I mean, I know he's referred to Okaronko in the past few weeks as his sixth choice centre back. If Okaronko is your sixth choice centre back, then I think your squad is pretty decent. I think my only concern with Ardsley was he made the change in the opposite way to what I've just said about Midlothian with the guy in the middle.
Hmm.
He brought Donati into the middle, which coincided, I think, with a bit of a poor run of form. But Donati's performances had been really good, but they just stopped winning the games.
Mm.
Now all of a sudden, he's kept Donati in the middle. Donati's still playing well, but the results have come back as well,
Hmm.
and that's why I think Ardsley look quite strong at the minute.
Yeah. So uh, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Difficult one to predict. But I mean, there was a comment. Alf says that it looks like a 1-1 to him. Are you 6 for 6 so far this evening in terms of predictions?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
So, well, I'm gonna put you. We're gonna have to put you on the spot for. This is annoying, isn't it? At least Ryan told me how to fix it or how to bypass it without clicking it 16 million times. What do you think?
Well, I tend to agree with Alf. To me, it looks like it's got 1-1 written all over it. And where does that leave us? 1-1.
1-1 will leave Midlothian on 39. Panathinaikos missing out on playoffs.
Right. Okay. So yet again, Midlothian scraping in my book by the skin of their teeth.
Did
But
they not
let's.
qualify? Did they lose and qualify anyway in the last game of the season last year or something like that?
I think they had something late on in the game, didn't they? Was it not a last minute, some sort of
Could
last
have
minute
been.
miracle?
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Okay. Anyway, 1-1 maybe.
Oh,
Well,
this
we'll
is
see.
this
We'll
is
see.
horrible.
We shall see who gets off to the best start. It's Tom Madeira with an early chance. Um, it's it's been
Oh,
Ardsley. It's been Ardsley all the way. That's Volodenkov, an unlikely scorer of the first goal of the game, puts Ardsley 1-0 up, and I don't, I, they don't they don't give up many goals, do they, Ardsley? But
no, but they are showing. They're
there's
showing something
Gattuso
now.
with the
They are.
goal,
They've
Gattuso
changed
with
it.
the equaliser. But it's another
Oh,
one.
no disallowed goals. What's going on?
Oh gosh, and another disallowed goal. I don't know how many we've had this evening. 10 or something like that. My goodness. Slower
This
speed.
is.
5 you want slower speed. Right, okay. Agree for second half. Okay, you can have slower speed for second half.
Oh, it's
Um
horrible enough. I'm fast. This is. I can't cope with this.
oh gosh. I mean poor if we're being honest in terms of
Yeah.
in terms of the play, yeah.
What
Very,
exactly
very
Midlothian
nervy.
have been doing recently? They've just not been creating enough, and I think they know they know that that's what's been happening, don't they? But
Mm.
45 minutes to create something else, or keep them out, keep Ardsley out.
Yeah, keep Ardsley out. 39 points, they should be enough. They move above Panathinaikos if they do that. So it should be okay. But, Tomadera just had one. Do not play on slow speed.
39 points. If Joe Palmer's watching, he's going to be thinking this is a
It's
disgrace
got to be 40.
qualifying on 39
It's got to be
points.
40. Very slow. Yeah, we're going very slow. No, we can have it on. I think we can have it on fast. I think that'll be okay. I think that's what the people want, Ian, to be honest. So, um, Um, I don't.
Greedy.
If a one, yeah, okay, we'll get back to that. Anyway, first half performance for Midlothian, as it probably was for Artsy, not hugely impressive. Gattuso came in, did well. He's done a good job. Varlamov, who's a recent acquisition by the club, has come in and done well. Back, not been brilliant, to be completely honest. Actually, I think Christian Vieri should have been captain. If I'm being 100% honest to Ian here, I can change that for the second half, obviously. Let me double check that. Yeah, Vieri should have been captain. I will go and change that because I'm not unfair.
Oof.
So there we go.
Wonder how Back's feeling about
Well, he's just gonna have to suck it up, isn't he? Really? I mean,
that.
what do you think of Dulash and Roberto Carlos and their kind of drop in form? They were really like crucial to his success early on in the season. Those wide players, weren't they?
They were, and I think they would benefit from having less guys playing inside them along that same line.
Hmm.
To be honest, Douliage's was a real success for Ian. Going and getting him from outside the league when no one else, he wasn't anyone else's radar. Carlos, I know very well from my previous BTEC incarnation. I managed to get him from the old football monologue when he couldn't get a tune out of him, and he was fantastic for me. So I know that Carlos can be one of the best left backs in the league. I just think if you took maybe one of those five out of that row, you'd see a better performance from your fullbacks.
Yeah, no, that could definitely be a possibility. Give them just a little bit more space to pass the ball around as well.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at Arsenal. I mean, they obviously had that goal. Tomadera had that goal disallowed. Let's see how else they've been, doing. Sauri doing well. Stankovic not having a great game. What do you make of that first half for Arsenal? Recoba is obviously not an ideal choice by any stretch of the imagination, and he's
Yeah,
proven that.
I think Recorba's probably in there because he has done bits in the past for Hodgie, and I think he maybe wants to bring him back in and see if he can do something else for him. Zauri being the best players, that's not really much of a headline, is it? Apart from Vieira, I think he's always there or thereabouts, one of his best players.
Hmm
I
hmm
still think there's more to come from Ardsley in the second half. So Midlothian do need to be very wary of a couple of guys in there. Vieira who can dominate the game, and a couple of other guys who can just pop up and create something, whether it be Nicky Franco, or Tomadera, who could get that goal that's owed to him now as having one disallowed.
That was so cruelly disallowed. Well, let's have a look at the second half. Let's see. It doesn't look as if the speed has changed, but oh, it's because we changed the player. Let's see how oh, it's not unbearable. We can have a look at this. We can actually see what's going on. Squeaky bumps in Edinburgh. Your decision. I mean, Vieri captain. Yeah, we're leaving him as captain. That's fine.
Oh, flag stays down.
Oh, this is unbearable to watch it on the speed.
I don't ever want to get in the top six. Honestly, I couldn't bear a night like this. I'm happy to bottom half of the league.
Yeah, it's not good for your blood pressure, is it? I mean, that's only 10 minutes gone. Fine save. Oh, Patrick Vieira probably could have scored there.
There's still a goal in it for either team. That's the worry.
Hmm And who's your money on in terms of and in terms of scoring? You said that it was going to be a 1-1 draw. Now you say there's a goal in it. For who
I
though?
do feel like there's a goal in it. I think obviously both teams. Oh,
There's one.
is it
To
gonna? Is it
Madeira. Will it be allowed to stand though? It
It's
is
allowed.
allowed to stand this time.
Oh.
Oh my goodness.
Although to clarify, if it is a draw, which is now not gonna
Which
be.
it doesn't look
Oh,
as if it's going to be. There's Recoba of all people.
are we looking at the biggest collapse in Super League history in terms of snatching victory from the jaws of defeat, or the other way around?
Uh, since since Midlothian's semi-final or whatever it was last season when they were winning, got the keeper sent off and conceded like 3 goals or whatever in the last couple of minutes.
Yes.
But they obviously can. I mean, there's 14 minutes left to play. 2 goals is not impossible. Christian Vieri could get in there. He could have
Oof.
scored there. I mean, it's a very, very difficult time of the season to play Arsenal. They have been improving. Obviously, they were unplayable the first half of the season, and they are starting to look a little bit more difficult again to be up against. And they've been by far the better side tonight.
They have, and they still look good for a fourth. Oh, Vieira, yellow card.
Just a couple of minutes to play. It seems unlikely that Midlothian are going to get back into this. Oh, they
Wow,
definitely aren't now. That's curtains for
that's
them.
it.
That is Donati with the fourth for Artley of the evening. Um, yeah, it wasn't to be for Midlothian, unfortunately.
Wow. Well done, Alf.
Somehow it just wasn't to be the second half of the season. They just couldn't find the way through. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's much point in going through the. I mean, they've not even played badly, to be
No,
honest. I mean, Gattuso man of the match.
yeah, which is a good performance from Gattuso. It's pretty much been a given all season, hasn't it? Ian's got a really good tune out of Gattuso all year when he's been
Hmm
available.
Yeah, it's been well, they'll have, I was going to say, you know how people say that if they go out of the cup, they can focus on the league at least Scott and Ian can focus on the on the Margate
I've just seen that now on the
to,
chat. Just
to
said,
the
well,
Milan save.
Margate,
Um,
yeah, Margate or Milan, one or the other. Or given the travel restrictions at the minute, maybe not Milan.
yeah, so and obviously decent enough for Ardsley, but I mean without dwelling too much on it because we already we already did quite a lot of dwelling. Let's have a look at the final table. Oh, let's have a look. Can we have a league table, please? Da.
Stage.
Stage somewhere, isn't that league? There we go. So this is how it finishes after another 6 months or
Wow.
whatever it is that we've been through. This is how it finishes on the final day of the season of the season. There was I mean there was questions still sitting unanswered until 45 minutes into the last game of the season, which is how we want the Super League to be. Obviously, um, someone has to lose, someone has to
Yeah.
win.
That is, yeah. I mean, crikey, what an end! We thought we were being spoiled a little bit by having such a good end to the season, given that it could have been all decided weeks ago. But what a great final night! Well done, Alf. I mean, probably even more so, well done, Maka, because I mean, he's took a team there that wasn't his, what they weren't his blokes, and he's done brilliantly there to get six. That's a fantastic season for him,
Hmm.
really fantastic. Uh,
38 points is a disgrace, according to 5. I think was it not 36 last year though? That was even worse, wasn't it? I think
Oh
so.
no! I mean, I mean, how many? If we're being absolutely honest, how many people thought that Panathinaikos, without you know, with that squad, a new manager who wasn't used to those players, sixth place, 38 points. That's just a fantastic performance in my book.
Yeah, I mean he's definitely done well to scrape in, because I don't think that's jammy up in the West League for 2/3 of the season. Well, I wouldn't say so, because you had a lot of games that I think Swindon have like 22, don't they? I think there was a lot of games that Maka played where he should have won, basically. But they were either nil-nils or there or thereabouts. Anyway, I mean, story of the evening is Astra obviously turning things around, coming from below the waterline to get to 40 points, which is, as Palmer says, is always enough to qualify. And then, as it is in the Premier League, to avoid relegation, it is here to get into the playoffs. Asta and Alf did the job. They got 40 points, and they're in there. Valen did what they could, obviously, with Arsenal winning tonight as well. They finished 1 point behind Bolton. So if Bolton had lost that one, then Arsenal would have been second. Could have been a completely different scenario up at the top of the table. And obviously, commiserations to Midlothian and to Chudley.
Mm,
Again, not sure what what went wrong. Midlothian looked nailed on at the halfway point to at least finish in the top half. And yeah, and Chudley were in with a good shout right up until the end. And then we've got Sloths, Hornets, Dragons, BTEC. Down at the bottom we have Hooligans. Um, let's have a quick look at the player stats. Obviously, at the end of the regular season, so Patrick Vieira, 817. Arsenal won the lottery with him, didn't they? So
Oh yeah, I mean yeah. We all wanted him, didn't we? I mean everyone was saying best player in the league. Fair play to Hodgie. He's put him in there and he's made him the best player in the league. Um, as we said earlier, Montella up front on his own, which always helps a striker. Um, so you're always going to benefit from that. But to have the
mhm,
confidence to tell everyone what he's going to be, and then he goes ahead and does it. We
mhm.
also mentioned the job that Alf had done with Vogel. I hadn't quite realised he was the fourth best player in the league, which just shows what a dreadful job I did do with him.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, all of this needs to be taken with a pinch of salt, because some of these could be with the way the league has been going and the way the game won't save. No, it will save, Scott. I just need to close the streaming software, which I obviously can't do. So
it's quite a common error, that isn't it? You just need to close a
so
few
unfortunately,
applications.
I forgot that, because I haven't been doing the live streams for so long, that happened. So Montella looks nailed on. He's still in the playoffs. He's still in there. So unless something spectacular happened for Van Nistelrooy and Shevchenko in the playoffs, obviously Montella could go away with the title of that. A little bit
Well,
disappointing.
Shevchenko's going to have an extra game, isn't he? Because
Mm,
obviously, I think Bolton and Churchtown get their bye, so maybe Shevchenko has a shout just because he gets an extra, possibly an extra game to play.
yeah, there is that. So we'll see how that pans out. Anyway, I'll go through all of this stuff later and send you out some numbers. First of all, I would like to obviously finish up the stream and get the game saved. I think if we have a look at the fixtures, so we can see what's up here. So the next games are RC Celtic against Panathinaikos. You're going to say that RC Celtic are probably going to be going into that slight favourites just based on their performance tonight and Panathinaikos' performance tonight. So that's going to be a tricky one for Maka to get past that. Valen United and Asta have always been Valen away for Asta. We beat them at their ground 4-1 a couple of weeks ago. That's true, actually. Asta have had recently had a great success against Valen United. So yeah, so we will see. We will see. I'll send out an email. Fifey says, "Will the next game's playoff starting Sunday?" No, playoffs will be starting as soon as possible. So I will be sending out the packs to the four
Yes.
managers as soon as I have the packs back. I will schedule in a time. It will be 9 o'clock at some point during the week. If I have the packs back for Tuesday, it'll be Tuesday. If I have them Wednesday, it'll be Wednesday. As soon as I have all four squads in, then I'll do the show because otherwise it's because it's only like a couple of games, yeah. So we can't drag this on for like 6 or 7 more weeks or whatever it is. I think there's this one, 3, 4. I think there's 4 rounds left, isn't there? Something like that. So
Yeah.
Phoenix game on the same show. I don't think so, Ryan. No, because that's not how it works. Um, no, Phoenix games won't be on the same show. It'll be these ones here, and then it'll be these ones here, and then it'll be this one, and then it'll be this one, and then it'll be the final after that. Yeah. So
I guess you could potentially do the Phoenix game on the same show as
oh,
the
I can do yeah
second.
yeah 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 of course. The next one is these four. The next one is these four plus. Well, no. I'll explain later. Well, if these games are played, I send out the packs. I send out the packs after these games. I play up to the 11th. We play these games, and I've sent out the packs to Kieran and Ryan because there's a day in between. If there's any
Mhm.
injuries or anything like
Yeah.
that, then that won't be in the pack. So normally, I mean, we can try. Yeah, we can try. First of all, I'll send out these packs, and then it'll be fine, and then it should be okay. Fine, the whole score 2 weeks' wages and transfer list them. Thanks, mate. Ian says, yeah, well, I mean, it's the last time you've seen them for the last time anyway, so they're probably already away to the beach. So I'm not sure they're going to be. Can't do media Tuesday if games Tuesday, for example. I don't know what that means. Either way, I'll send out the four packs. I'll send out the packs to the four managers, and you can get on with that. I'm going to have to end the stream there, guys, as mentioned earlier on. Early life in the UK test for me tomorrow for my citizenship, so I need to drop off. I hope you all enjoyed it. It was very, very exciting. Thanks very much, Ian, for joining me on CoComs. It was a pleasure as usual. A little bit awkward to do a
Super.
live show again, but I'll be back to full strength shortly in terms of this probably. So take care, everyone. Enjoyed the evening. It was a great finish to the Super League, and I'm sure I'll see you all again very soon.
Cheers. Good night.